The oceans of the world are said to be even less well known than the surface of Mars to humankind. Just when you thought you've seen it all, we come along and try to tell you there's still many unknowns under the dark ocean waves. Fact is, the deep ocean is still relatively unknown, and there's more and more cameras underwater. Let's have a look at some underwater footage that might just shock or fascinate you. The Goblin Shark. Let's start off this video with a shark that not even his own mother appreciates. The deep oceanic waters are home to a fascinating and enigmatic animal known as the Goblin Shark. The Goblin Shark has captured both the public's and scientists' imagination with its peculiar appearance and unappealing features. The Goblin Shark is a species of shark that was first identified in 1898 and is a member of the Mitsukarinde family. Due to its ancient ancestry, it's also known as the living fossil and goes by the scientific name of Mitsukarina ostoni. The Goblin Shark's elongated snout, which gives it a distinctly ghoulish appearance, is one of its most striking characteristics. The Goblin Shark can detect prey in the murky, dark depths where it lives thanks to the array of electrosensitive pores on its snout. The retractable jaws of the Goblin Shark are another peculiar trait. They can extend forward to catch prey and then retract back into their mouths. Additionally, the jaws have sharp, needle-like teeth that are perfect for catching fish and other small animals. The Goblin Shark is not a danger to people, despite its terrifying appearance. Since the shark lives in deep waters that's 200 to 1300 meters below the surface, humans hardly ever come into contact with them. Although most people aren't very familiar with the Goblin Shark, researchers are still learning about its biology and behavior. According to recent studies, the Goblin Shark uses a special hunting technique that involves waiting for its prey to approach. After that, they lunge forward to capture it. Another characteristic of the Goblin Shark is its slow growth rate and lengthy lifespan, with some individuals living up to 70 years. The Goblin Shark is susceptible to overfishing and other dangers due to its slow growth and low reproductive rate. You gotta feel sorry for the poor xenomorph knockoff. The Goblin Shark has admirers, especially since being rare and mysterious in nature. With its distinctive appearance and otherworldly qualities, the shark has recently gained popularity as a subject for artists and filmmakers, inspiring a variety of artistic works. The Goblin Shark is a mystery of the deep that's sure to astonish and fascinate future generations with its elongated snout, retractable jaws, and needle-like teeth. If you're afraid of deep water, especially the darkness, you better stay away unless you want to swim into Mr. Ugly Stick over here. Barreleye fish. Ah yes, the barreleye fish. The creature also has the kind of face that only a mother could look at and maybe not scream at. However, don't be misled by this fish from the deep sea's peculiar appearance. The barreleye's transparent head will catch your eye right away. You did read that correctly though. Its head is transparent. Without even disassembling it, you can see its brain, eyes, and other internal structures. It's kind of like looking directly at a living, swimming science experiment. Let's now discuss those eyes though. The large tubular eyes of the barreleye can move around within their sockets. Without moving its head, the fish can look up, down, all around. Might mistake them for high-tech security cameras if it weren't for the fact that they're mounted on a fish. Best part is that those eyes can turn to face forward. The barreleye fish doesn't even need to turn its head to look in all directions. If only people could accomplish that, just consider all the neck issues we could prevent. Why then does the barreleye require such elaborate eyes? Well, as it turns out, this fish dwells in the dark, deep ocean where there's little light. The barreleye's eyes aid in locating its prey, such as tiny plankton in the night. And let's face it, having eyes that can move around and look in funny directions is a pretty useful adaptation if you're living in almost complete darkness. However, there's still more. The barreleye's mouth has some interesting modifications as well. Its jaws are covered in these hooks, which are long, thin, curved objects. These hooks aided in capturing its prey and preventing it from fleeing. Like having chopsticks built right into its head, really. You might now be wondering how researchers were able to study this animal. It's not like you can just buy one at your neighborhood pet store, after all. In fact, scientists have used submersibles to travel deep into the ocean to watch these fascinating fish in their natural environment. And let's face it, barreleye fish is unquestionably a creature worth searching for if you're going to spend the time in a submersible looking for strange and unusual creatures. So the next time you're down on yourself or looking a certain way, just think of the barreleye fish. Ain't the prettiest, but they are the ideal adaptations for living in the deep, dark ocean. And hey, at least our teeth aren't hooks. The BRINICLE. The Finger of Death is another name for this one. One of the strangest and most magical oceanic phenomena is the BRINICLE. Let me explain it, you never heard it. When the salt in the ocean water freezes at extremely low temps, a BRINICLE similar to an underwater icicle is created. How does it come to be, you ask? When a flow of icy, dense seawater sinks into the ocean floor and spreads out in all directions, it simply begins. A stalactite-like structure is created when the concentrated salt solution, known as brine, freezes as it gets closer to the seafloor and comes into contact with warmer water. The movement of the BRINICLE is what makes it so fascinating. It slowly descends as it grows, freezing everything in its path. Its icy grasp traps tiny creatures, sea stars, and anything else, which eventually causes them to become encased in an icy tomb. Now, if you're picturing the BRINICLE descending gradually and gently, reconsider. The BRINICLE moves surprisingly quickly, creeping like an icy predator along the seafloor. The creatures caught in its path are in a race against time to get away before they're completely encased in ice if they're too slow. It's actually kind of scary seeing how it works. Barring that, it really is an enthralling sight to see. And if you're fortunate enough to see it firsthand, you'll probably become enthralled by the beauty and magic of nature, or you'll simply run away. The BRINICLE, though, does have a darker side, just like almost everything in nature. There's no way out for the creatures ensnared in its icy grasp. They're imprisoned, frozen in place, allowed to deteriorate gradually inside their icy tombs. It really is slow and painful. Despite the fact that nature can be breathtaking and lovely, it can also be harsh and unforgiving. Still so much for us to learn and understand, even in the ocean's depths. But there's also something incredibly humbling and fascinating about it. So be sure to be careful with the BRINICLE the next time you find yourself exploring the ocean's depths and icy water. Creeping Deathfinger serves as a reminder of the wonder and complexity of the natural world. Spider Crab Migration. Spider Crab Migration is an annual event in the ocean's depths that's both fascinating and unsettling. These aren't your ordinary garden variety spiders. They're enormous, with legs that can reach lengths of up to 12 feet. You can get an idea of what we're detailing with by picturing Spider-Man as if he were the size of a car. When the water cools, the spider crabs know it's time to migrate, and the migration begins. A huge, writhing mass of legs and claws is then formed when they congregate in the hundreds of thousands, slowly creeping across the ocean floor. If the monsters in the movie were spider crabs, it'd be like watching an underwater horror film. Don't worry though, these crabs have no desire to harm people for the most part. They're too occupied gorging on fish and other crustaceans, as well as other available foods. They suck up everything in their path with their enormous claws, acting like the ocean floor's equivalent of Roombas. The spider crab migration is a spectacular sight, but it once again proves how enigmatic and amazing the ocean can be. Realizing how little we understand about the world these creatures inhabit makes us humble. We can only get a glimpse of it from the surface. The migration's coordination is among its most fascinating features. Crabs move in a pattern resembling a wave, with the crabs in the front pushing and the crabs in the rear trailing. It resembles a conga line in slow motion, but instead of people, it's made up of enormous spiders. The spider crabs migrate to get to the spot where they grow. Like all crabs, they have a hard exoskeleton. In their safe place, they one by one shed their shells and emerge soft and vulnerable. They remain in this state for days while the new shell hardens. If you're fortunate enough to see the spider crab migration, you might also come across some other unusual deep-sea creatures. The ocean's full of strange and wonderful creatures that the majority of us will never get to see, like bioluminescent jellyfish and translucent squids. So the next time you're at the beach, stop to admire the ocean's wonders. And if a huge spider crab is crawling out of the water, don't be alarmed. Maybe. It's just a normal part of life in the deep blue sea. Again, maybe don't freak out though. The Great Blue Hole. Off the coast of Belize, there's a sizable underwater sinkhole that reaches 125 meters into the Earth's crust. Scuba divers and snorkelers have been exploring the Great Blue Hole's surface water for decades. Few, though, have dared to go further and discover what lies beyond the darkness. A crew from Aquatica submarines began their descent to the Blue Hole's bottom in the winter of 2018. They set out to make a 3D map of the sinkhole's interior, but they also encountered some familiar and unusual sights. As the crew got going, they discovered the usual suspects: turtles, giant corals, and reef sharks. However, as they advanced 90 meters, life began to disappear. The culprit was a thick blanket of poisonous hydrogen sulfide that covered the entire sinkhole's width. They discovered conchs, conch shells, and dead hermit crabs that had fallen into the hole and suffocated down there. Yeah, there's really no oxygen either. The team unexpectedly discovered tiny stalactites after passing the conch cemetery and as they descended 120 meters into the hole. The surprise provided scientists with hints about the hole's lengthy past. Stalactites can only develop when water is dripping down stone, and since this was a large, dry cave that existed during a very productive period of Earth's history, it's likely that a variety of creatures lived there. The last ice age, which ended about 14,000 years ago, is thought to have formed the cave, according to scientists. Around that time, sea levels started to rise, causing the cave to flood and collapse, leaving behind the present-day blue hole. We can see that right around the time when the mine collapsed, there were enormous storm cycles, followed by very significant droughts because the slit itself on the bottom is a pretty good record of all the different hurricanes, storm cycles, and glaciations that have occurred. During their dive, the team came across 2 of the likely 3 individuals who were lost in the blue hole. The team came to the consensus that they shouldn't try to recover the bodies. There in the darkness is a serene atmosphere. They instead decided to simply let them remain and informed authorities. Scientists believe that this hole won't be accessible indefinitely. It receives daily waterfalls of sand that gradually fill it like an underwater hourglass. But for the time being, we can still take in its beauty and explore its numerous mysteries. Black smokers. Black smokers are a mysterious and fascinating sight that can be found deep beneath the ocean's surface in its darkest and most remote regions. The superheated water, minerals, and gases emitted by these underwater chimneys from the Earth's crust create a peculiar habitat for some of the most incredible and bizarre creatures on the planet. The ability of black smokers to reach heights of up to 60 feet and temperatures of more than 750 degrees Fahrenheit was first discovered in the late 1970s. This hot water is also highly acidic and can contain chemicals such as hydrogen sulfide, methane, and carbon dioxide. It is therefore an extreme environment, but many organisms have evolved to survive there, including giant tube worms, shrimp with no eyes, and crabs with blindness. Fortunately, I don't gotta go there. Tube worm is among the most well-known animals that frequent the area around black smokers. These worms have a bright red color from the hemoglobin in their blood and can reach lengths of several feet. They don't have a digestive system, so they get their nutrition from the vent fluids through a symbiotic relationship with bacteria that live inside of them. Black smokers, however, are fascinating for more reasons than just the high pressure and temperatures. Scientists and researchers are fascinated by the minerals and gases that they emit. The majority of living things find these minerals to be toxic, such as sulfur and iron, but the animals that live close to black smokers have evolved to not only survive, but also thrive. In fact, some scientists think that the origin of life on Earth may be revealed by studying these underwater chimneys. Black smokers' distinctive chemistry and mineral-rich environment may hold the key to understanding how life first appeared on Earth and how it might endure harsh conditions elsewhere in the universe. But come and see for yourself instead of taking my word for it. Take a trip down to the ocean's depths in a submersible to see these fascinating black smokers and the animals that live there. Just remember to not bring sunscreen, since the only rays you're going to see down here are those that the smokers themselves are emitting. In all seriousness though, black smokers are a mysterious and fascinating sight that has piqued the interest of scientists and researchers all over the world. Who knows what other mysteries and discoveries are waiting for us to be found inside and because of these geysers. So let's plunge into the uncharted together as you don your scuba gear. Actually, hold on, I just ate. The underwater forest. I am sure most of you have been to forests. Imagine walking in a forest, but the forest is on the seafloor. For this one, you're gonna need some scuba gear and leave your chainsaw at home. The underwater forest in the Gulf of Mexico is widely regarded as one of the sea region's most extraordinary attractions, and it certainly deserves this reputation. Underneath the surface of the Gulf of Mexico is where you'll find this enigmatic forest, with its leafy branches swaying in the gentle currents and no evidence of human intervention. The forest is home to a diverse array of marine life, from small fish to crustaceans and even larger predators like sharks. The history of how this forest was established is without a doubt the most interesting aspect of it. The underwater forest is thought by scientists to be a relic of a cypress forest that was there approximately 60,000 years ago. Because of the rise in sea levels and the sinking of the land, the forest was eventually submerged and preserved under layers of sediment, which prevented it from decomposing and turned into a one-of-a-kind time capsule. Recently, divers and researchers have been exploring the underwater forest to study its ecological significance and learn more about its history. Because of the forest's rich biodiversity and one-of-a-kind habitat, it is an important location for conducting marine research. However, exploring the forest is no easy task, because divers have to brave the choppy waters of the Gulf of Mexico. This requires people to descend the depths of 60 feet in order to reach the sandy bottom of the forest. Once they reach their destination, they'll need to find their way through its tangled web of branches that make up the forest and keep an eye out for any potential dangers that may be hiding in the gloom. The underwater forest may be difficult to navigate, but it's definitely worth the effort because it is a wondrous and interesting place to discover. Any scuba diver or person with an interest in marine life should make it a point to go there because of its stunning natural features and the significant scientific research that's been done there. Underwater statues. One can find a sight that's both eerie and mysterious when one dives beneath the surface of the water in various places. Figures preserved in time and eerily suspended in the water, giving the impression that they're caught in a world that lies somewhere between reality and dreams. These are the creations of the artist Jason Declares Taylor. His medium is not paint or clay, but rather the ocean itself. Not only are Taylor's creations beautiful to look at, but they're also intended to be of service to the marine environment and the creatures that live there. The artist has produced a number of underwater sites that are designed to function as artificial reefs and contribute to the development of coral and other forms of marine life. These installations can be found in a variety of locations all over the world, including the waters off the coasts of Grenada, Cancun, and Lanzarote, among other places. One of the most well-known installations that Taylor has ever created is the Cancun Underwater Museum, which has more than 500 sculptures that are larger than life and can be explored by snorkelers and divers. The installation is intended to raise awareness about the need for marine conservation while also promoting ecotourism as a viable tourism option. One more art site can be found off the coast of Grenada, and it consists of a circle of life-size figures holding hands with one another. The figures have, over the course of time, become covered in coral and other marine life, creating a sight that's absolutely breathtaking. The work that Taylor does is about more than simply promoting marine life. It also aims to raise awareness about the impact that humans have on the ocean. His sculptures frequently address environmental issues such as climate change, pollution, and overfishing, calling attention to the critical need for human intervention to preserve the health of our oceans. Not only is the artwork of Taylor aesthetically pleasing and thought-provoking, but it's also contributing to the improvement of society as a whole. Through the construction of these submerged installations, he's giving home to a marine life that lives there and encouraging the growth of coral reefs. In the end, these statues will first surprise you because they look so lifelike, but then you'll just marvel at how good they look. I mean, statues like this are actually pretty cool, don't you agree? Heraklion. At the mouth of the Nile River in Egypt, there once stood the lost city of Heraklion, also called Thonis. However, the city abruptly disappeared without a trace after more than 1,000 years of prosperity, and its existence was reduced to a legend. The location of the lost city was unknown for many years until a group of French archaeologists finally found its ruins in 2000. The group set out on a mission to learn more about this long-forgotten city under the direction of renowned underwater archaeologist Frank Cadillo. They were astonished by what they discovered. Temples, palaces, and other ancient buildings were still standing among the Heraklion ruins, despite having been submerged in water for centuries. A wealth of artifacts, including statues, coins, and jewelry, were also found by the archaeologists, giving them a window into the daily lives of the city's citizens. Heraklion is said to have once been a thriving center of trade and commerce, with ships from all over the world docking at its ports. The city served as a significant religious hub, housing temples to many different gods and goddesses. But Heraklion's prosperity was fleeting, and a string of natural disasters ultimately led to the city's destruction. The city slowly submerged into the sea as a result of the Nile's rising waters, and its infrastructure was further obliterated by earthquakes and tidal waves. Heraklion's discovery has shed light on ancient Egypt and its inhabitants, despite its tragic ending. A look into the past and the lives of those who once resided in this remarkable city is possible thanks to the artifacts that have been recovered from the site. All those are now on display in museums all over the world. Tourists and adventurers from all over the world have been drawn to the site to see the underwater ruins for themselves and the discovery of Heraklion. There's now diving expeditions to the lost city that lets guests explore the antiquated buildings and take in the eerie beauty of the underwater world. Unfortunately, there's no underwater shopping allowed. As long as there are still unanswered questions about its past and the lives of its inhabitants, the lost city of Heraklion will continue to fascinate and enthrall. It continues to serve as a reminder of the transient nature of human civilization and a testament to the strength and mystique of the ancient world. What do you think about Heraklion? Feel free to leave a comment below. The Sunfish. If you are underwater and this fish is swimming towards you, you may just wet yourself because of its size. But apparently it's harmless, actually. The ocean sunfish, also known as the mola mola, is a strange and fascinating animal. It's easy to see that it's caught the attention of many people around the world. This odd-looking fish is one of the biggest bony fish in the ocean, and because of its peculiar appearance, it has a reputation for being one of the strangest marine life. The flat and circular body of the mola mola can reach a length of 11 feet and a weight of 5,000 pounds. Its skin has a sandpaper-like texture because it's abrasive and speckled with tiny bumps. The fish is typically gray or brown in color and is easily identified by its unique shape. The diet of the mola mola is among its most intriguing characteristics. Despite its enormous size, the fish mostly eats tiny marine organisms like plankton and jellyfish. The mola mola will frequently lie still near the water's surface while waiting for its prey to approach it in order to catch it. When it sees a potential meal, it will then swim up to the surface, using its strong fins to snag it in its enormous jaws. The reproductive habits of the mola mola are another fascinating feature. The mola mola only produces a few hundred eggs, as opposed to most fish which lay millions at once. These eggs are released into the water and allowed to hatch on their own. The baby mola molas are only a few millimeters long after they hatch, and they don't resemble their parents at all. The long, skinny tail and round body they're born with eventually changes into the flattened, elongated shape of the adult fish. The mola isn't a very good swimmer despite its size. It uses its fins to move through the water, and because of its slow movement, predators find it to be an easy target. The fish is covered in a thick layer of mucus that is toxic to many potential attackers in order to defend itself, though. Additionally, this mucus shields the fish from parasites, which can pose a serious threat to other marine species. One of the most intriguing fish in the ocean due to its peculiar appearance, peculiar diet, and peculiar reproductive habits. The mola is undoubtedly one of the most fascinating animals, and those who are fortunate enough to see it in the wild are still in awe of it, even though it isn't the strongest or fastest swimmer. See you all next time!